Beverly Hilton Hotel, Los Angeles, January 1966. The press conference was scheduled for 11 a.m. By 10:45, the ballroom was packed. 63 journalists, photographers lining the back wall, television cameras from NBC, CBS, and ABC set up in a semicircle facing the podium. The room smelled like coffee and cigarette smoke, and the particular tension that comes when reporters sense a story might break in an unexpected direction. Frank Sinatra was supposed to announce his retirement. That's what the press release had said, distributed 3 days earlier through his publicist. Mr. Sinatra will make an important announcement regarding his future in the entertainment industry. The language was careful, vague, but everyone knew what it meant. He was 50 years old. He'd been performing for 30 years. He'd made albums that defined American music. He'd starred in films that won Oscars. He'd built an empire. And now, according to the rumors that had been circulating through Hollywood for 6 months, he was done. The journalists waited. At the podium stood a microphone. No notes. No prepared statement, just the microphone and a glass of water. At 10:52, the side door opened. Sinatra walked in. He was wearing a dark suit, white shirt, thin black tie. His hair was graying at the temples. His face looked tired, not exhausted, but worn in the way that comes from years of late nights and early mornings and the weight of being looked at constantly. He walked to the podium, didn't smile, didn't wave, just walked up, adjusted the microphone down 2 inches and looked at the room. "Thanks for coming," he said. His voice was quiet. The room had to lean forward to hear him. "I'm not gonna read a statement," Sinatra continued. "I'm just gonna tell you what I decided, and then I'll take a few questions. That work for everyone." A few reporters nodded, most just stared, pens ready. Sinatra took a breath. "I'm retiring from performing," he said, "effective immediately. No more concerts, no more albums, no more club dates. I'm done." The room erupted. Not with applause, with noise, cameras clicking, reporters shouting questions. Someone from the back, "Frank, why now?" Someone from the front, "Is this permanent?" Sinatra raised one hand. The room quieted slightly. "I'll take questions in a minute," he said. "Let me finish." The room went silent again. "I've been doing this for a long time," Sinatra said. "Longer than most of you have been alive. And I've loved it, most of it. But I'm tired. I'm tired of the travel. I'm tired of the pressure. I'm tired of being judged for every word I say, every move I make, every person I'm seen with. I'm tired of living my life in front of cameras and microphones and people who think they know me because they've heard me sing." He paused, took a sip of water. "So I'm stepping back. I'm gonna spend time with my family. I'm gonna read books. I'm gonna sleep past noon. I'm gonna do all the things normal people do that I haven't done in 30 years. And I'm gonna do it without having to explain myself to anyone." He set the water glass down. "Okay," he said. "Questions." Every hand in the room shot up. Sinatra pointed to a reporter in the 3rd row, middle-aged woman, wire-rimmed glasses, notebook open. "Mr. Sinatra, is this decision final, or is there a possibility you might return to performing in the future?" "It's final," Sinatra said. "No chance of a comeback." "No." She scribbled notes. Sinatra pointed to another reporter, young guy, late 20s, looked nervous. "Mr. Sinatra, there have been rumors about your health. Is this retirement related to any medical issues?" "No, I'm fine, just tired." "So it's purely a personal decision." "That's what I said." The young reporter sat down. Sinatra pointed to someone else. Older man, front row, gray suit. "Frank, you've been one of the biggest stars in the world for 3 decades. What are you going to do without the spotlight, without the applause?" Sinatra looked at him for a long moment. "I'm gonna find out," he said quietly. The room shifted. That answer landed differently. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't confident. It was honest in a way that made people uncomfortable. Sinatra pointed to another hand. Woman in the 2nd row, red dress, tape recorder on her lap. "Mr. Sinatra, do you have any regrets about your career? Anything you wish you'd done differently?" Sinatra thought about it, really thought about it. 10 seconds passed. The room was completely silent. "Yeah," he said finally. "I wish I'd been kinder to people who didn't deserve my anger. I wish I'd been more patient with journalists who were just doing their job. I wish I'd spent less time worrying about what people thought and more time actually living." The woman wrote quickly. Her hand was shaking slightly. Sinatra pointed to the back. A man stood, expensive suit, confident posture. He didn't have a notebook, just a pen in his pocket. Mr. Sinatra, there are reports that you're retiring because of pressure from the FBI regarding your associations with certain individuals. Would you care to comment on that? The room went very still. Every journalist in the room knew what he was asking about. The investigations, the surveillance, the rumors about Sinatra's connections to organized crime. It had been in the papers for years. Innuendo, speculation, photos of Sinatra with men whose names appeared in Senate hearings. Sinatra stared at the man for a long time. "What's your name?" Sinatra asked. "Daniel Kerrigan, Los Angeles Times." "You a reporter or a gossip columnist, Daniel?" "I'm a reporter." "Then report facts, not rumors." "The FBI surveillance is a fact, Mr. Sinatra. The FBI surveils a lot of people. Doesn't mean they're guilty of anything. But you acknowledge you've been under investigation." Sinatra's jaw tightened. "I acknowledge that the FBI has wasted a lot of taxpayer money following me around because I have friends they don't approve of. That's not the same as saying I've done anything wrong. So you deny any connection to organized crime." "I deny that who I have dinner with is any of your business." Kerrigan didn't sit down. "Mr. Sinatra, with respect, you're a public figure. The public has a right to know." "The public has a right to know if I break the law," Sinatra interrupted. His voice was still quiet, but it had gone cold. "I haven't. So what exactly do they have a right to know? That I'm friends with people you don't like. That I've been photographed with guys who happen to be Italian and happen to own businesses in cities where I perform. That's not news, Daniel. That's character assassination." The room had gone completely silent. Cameras weren't clicking. Pens weren't moving. Everyone was watching. Kerrigan pressed on. "But don't you think, given your influence, given your platform, that you have a responsibility to distance yourself from individuals who—" "No," Sinatra said. The word cut through the room like a knife. "I don't." "Mr. Sinatra, you want to know why I'm retiring?" Sinatra's voice was rising now. Not yelling, but rising. "You want the real reason. It's because of questions like that. Because I'm tired of people like you making assumptions about my character based on who I'm seen with. I'm tired of being judged by a standard that nobody else is held to. I'm tired of reading articles that imply I'm a criminal because I grew up in Hoboken and I have friends with vowels at the end of their names." Kerrigan's face had gone pale, but he didn't back down. "Mr. Sinatra, I'm just asking questions that what? That your editors told you to ask. That sell papers. That make me look guilty without actually accusing me of anything. That the public deserves answers to." Sinatra stepped back from the microphone, looked at the ceiling, took a deep breath, then he stepped forward again. "Okay," he said quietly. "You want answers. Here's an answer. I've never been arrested. I've never been charged with a crime. I've never been convicted of anything. The FBI has been investigating me for 15 years and they've found nothing. Zero, because there's nothing to find." He paused. The room was so quiet you could hear the tape recorders humming. "But none of that matters, does it?" Sinatra continued. "Because you've already decided who I am. You've already written the story. Frank Sinatra, the guy with mob connections. Frank Sinatra, the guy who can't be trusted. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what the facts are. You're gonna write what you're gonna write." Kerrigan didn't respond. "So here's what I'm gonna do," Sinatra said. His voice had dropped back down, quiet again, controlled. "I'm gonna retire, I'm gonna disappear, and you can write whatever you want about why. You can say it's because of the FBI. You can say it's because I'm guilty and I'm running. You can say whatever sells papers. But the truth, the actual truth, is that I'm retiring because I'm tired of people like you." He looked around the room, at all the faces, at all the cameras. "Any other questions?" he asked. Nobody moved. "No." Sinatra said, "Okay then." He turned and walked toward the side door. "Mr. Sinatra," someone shouted from the back. "What about your fans? Don't you owe them?" Sinatra stopped, didn't turn around. "I've given my fans 30 years, he said quietly. "I've given them everything I have, every note, every performance, every piece of myself I could give. If that's not enough, then I don't know what is." He walked out. The door closed behind him. For 5 seconds, nobody in the room moved. Then the noise started, reporters shouting into phones, photographers rushing to develop film, television crews packing up equipment, everyone scrambling to file their stories. Daniel Kerrigan sat in his seat, staring at his empty notepad. The woman next to him, a reporter from the Herald-Examiner, leaned over. "That was brutal," she said quietly. Kerrigan didn't respond. You pushed him too hard, she continued. I asked a legitimate question. You accused him of being a criminal. I didn't accuse him of anything. I asked about his association. She shook her head. Same thing. Kerrigan stood, picked up his pen. He's a public figure. He doesn't get to hide behind privacy. Maybe not, she said, but you just made him look like a victim. And that's gonna be the story. Not his retirement, not his legacy, just that he got ambushed by a reporter at his own press conference. Kerrigan walked out without responding. The story ran in every major newspaper the next day. Most of them led with the retirement. Sinatra quits. I'm tired. But the second paragraph in almost every article mentioned the confrontation, the FBI, the questions about organized crime, Sinatra's anger. The Los Angeles Times ran Kerrigan's piece under the headline, Sinatra retirement followed by tense exchange over FBI investigation. The article was factual, accurate. It quoted Sinatra directly, but the framing, the way it connected the retirement to the investigation, implied something that wasn't quite said. By the afternoon, the story had shifted. Columnists started writing opinion pieces. Did Sinatra retire to avoid scrutiny? The questions Sinatra won't answer. What is Frank Sinatra hiding? Television news picked it up. Anchors discussed whether Sinatra's anger suggested guilt, whether his retirement was strategic, whether the FBI had forced his hand. None of it was true, but none of it was provably false either, and that's how the narrative took hold. 3 days later, Sinatra was in Palm Springs, alone, no bodyguards, no entourage, just him and the house he bought 10 years earlier. He sat on the patio with a drink and watched the sun set over the desert. The phone rang inside. He didn't answer it. It rang again an hour later, then again at 9 p.m. At 10:30, there was a knock at the door. Sinatra opened it. It was his publicist, Jim Mahoney, middle-aged, wire-rimmed glasses, carrying a briefcase. Frank, we need to talk. Sinatra stepped aside. Let him in. They sat in the living room. Mahoney opened the briefcase and pulled out a stack of newspapers. Have you seen these? Mahoney asked. No. You should. Sinatra looked at the headlines, skimmed a few paragraphs, set them down. It's what I expected, Sinatra said. We need to respond, issue a statement, clarify your position on. No, Frank, they're implying you're guilty. They're connecting your retirement to the FBI investigation in a way that… Let them. Mahoney stared at him. What? Let them write whatever they want. I'm done. But your reputation… My reputation, Sinatra said quietly, is what it is. I can't control what people think. I can't control what journalists write. All I can control is what I do. And what I'm doing is retiring. But if you don't respond, the narrative becomes… The narrative is already written, Sinatra interrupted. It's been written for 15 years. Frank Sinatra, the guy with mob connection. That's the story they want. That's the story they'll always want. And no statement from me is gonna change it. Mahoney was quiet for a moment. Then, so you're just gonna let them win? Sinatra smiled, not happy, just tired. I'm not letting them win, he said. I'm refusing to play. What's the difference? The difference is that if I respond, I'm validating the question. I'm saying it's legitimate to ask whether I'm a criminal, and it's not. So I'm not gonna dignify it with an answer. Mahoney closed the briefcase slowly. Frank, I've been your publicist for 10 years, and in all that time you've never walked away from a fight. I'm not walking away. I'm just done fighting battles I can't win. You could win this one. You could go on television, do an interview, explain your side. People would listen. Yeah, Sinatra said. They would, and then they'd forget. And 6 months from now, some other journalist would ask the same question, and I'd have to explain myself all over again, and it would never end. So I'm ending it. Mahoney stood. You're making a mistake. Maybe. You're letting them define you. No, Sinatra said quietly. I'm letting them think they're defining me. That's different. Mahoney walked to the door, stopped, turned back. What are you gonna do now? He asked. Sinatra looked out the window at the desert. I don't know, that's the point. Mahoney left. Sinatra sat alone in the living room for a long time. Then he poured another drink and went back out to the patio. The stars were out. The desert was quiet. For the first time in 30 years, nobody was watching him, and it felt exactly how he thought it would. Empty, but free. Sinatra's retirement ended after 2 years with a sold-out return to Caesar's Palace in 1968, offering no explanation. Journalist Daniel Kerrigan was silently but permanently blacklisted. He never interviewed Sinatra again. Years later, Associate Jim Mahoney reflected that Sinatra had no regrets about his hostile exit, as it marked the moment he decided he no longer owed the world an explanation. Far from damaging his reputation, this indifference set him free. Sinatra realized the rumors would never disappear, so he simply stopped engaging with them. As Mahoney noted, he won by realizing it wasn't a fight he needed to win. When a journalist asks you about FBI investigations at your retirement press conference, and you respond with anger instead of denial, and then you walk out, are you protecting your privacy? Or are you admitting that the question hit too close to something true? And when you refuse to respond to the articles and the speculation and the narrative that builds around your silence, are you taking the high road? Or are you using silence as a weapon, knowing that the less you say, the more people have to fill in the blanks, and some of them will fill them in your favor just because they want to believe? Because there's a difference between refusing to fight and making people think you're above the fight. And Frank Sinatra understood that difference. He understood that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away and let people wonder why. Not because you're guilty, but because you're done explaining yourself to people who have already decided what they want to believe.